Hello there, welcome to the Saroy channel. You are so going to love tonight's story. I am crazy about this story. This story blows my mind. If it doesn't blow your mind, I'll eat my hat. I really will. It is a phenomenal story. I'm so excited. I can't wait to share it with you. Can you believe it? But this DJ sees a sight in the woods that you would never imagine possible, and I think he is one of the most privileged people on this planet. That's all I can say. He was so lucky. You don't get luckier than this. And the experience he had with this creature was just incredible. It was just something that I wouldn't have been surprised if he never shared it with anyone, because it was something that was so magical. It was like a secret you'd only keep to yourself, but I'm so grateful that he's sharing it tonight. You're going to love the story. So before we get started, I just want to thank all my listeners around the world for their continued support, especially my subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so, because believe me, this isn't the only story that is going to knock your socks off, so you want to be tuning in. Let's get started. Dear Sarah, I've been a DJ for over 20 long years, running my own mobile disco business here in North America, which normally I would promote because I am an entrepreneur at heart. But in this case, I would like all my details to remain exclusively anonymous. This is to protect my business and personal reputation, of course, because there are people out there who would think you were barking mad to believe in the hairy man known as Bigfoot. On the subject of cryptozoology, it was not something that really tweaked my interest at all. And as for Bigfoot, I truly just thought he was a creature depicted in ancient legends and myths, but not something alive today roaming the forests of North America. I was to discover how wrong I was when I had my Bigfoot encounter, which was such a profound experience and one of the most awesome wonders of my life that even today the memory of the event warms the very cockles of my heart and brings a huge smile to my face. My story begins when I was contacted by a young woman who wanted to have her 25th birthday at her family home, in the great outdoors, under the stars, with plenty of dancing music. The usual procedure is for my clients to visit me at the premises to discuss the music that they will require for a function. I knew I would also need to set up a generator and various speakers and uplighters around the area in question to create the beautiful ambience that is always needed at a party. The girl, who I will call Sophie, came to discuss everything about the party with me and presented me with a list of songs that she liked. I did tell her the importance of reading the crowd at a party for a DJ, because that enables you to ensure that you get people dancing on that floor. It really does require skill, passion, and lots of experience to create the right vibe at a party. After all, it is the music and dancing that ultimately determines how successful the party will be. I have had clients in the past bringing me lists of songs they wanted me to play at a party that had no impact on their guests whatsoever. If I had not finally got permission from the host to forget the uniform list and regenerate the dance floor using my natural skills, those functions would have been a disaster and people would have left early. In my experience, even the background music is so important when the guests arrive at a function, because it has a way of enabling strangers at a party to mingle together much more easily and feeling more comfortable. It really does break the ice, set the mood, and create a relaxing ambience, so significant to the success of a party. So my story begins in the July of 2012, when I was driving my white van down a long dirt road that was surrounded on either side with ubiquitous trees of similar size and height that stretched back for miles into vast areas of natural forest. I took a turning to the right and opened an old cattle gate, and then drove down this long driveway that was surrounded by short brush, rambling vegetation, and different species of trees dotted liberally all over the property. I finally parked outside a very quaint-looking whitewashed farmhouse that looked like it had been restored and renovated to its original condition. Sophie came running out of the house in a pair of blue jeans and t-shirt, followed by two excitable black Labradors who were wagging their tails profusely. "I'm so excited," she told me. "I appreciate you coming to set up early. I'm expecting 72 guests tonight, and I'm so excited. I just can't wait. Follow me and I'll show you where I want you to set up all your equipment." I followed Sophie and I found myself in an open clearing overlooking a beautiful creek. On the northern side of the property, behind the creek, there were long stretches of beautiful hilly valleys that were visually quite breathtaking, set against a perfect azure blue sky. It was on the east side of the creek where she wanted me to set up my equipment, and this was literally only a few yards away from a large wooded area that looked like it stretched back forever. There was already a couple of vans parked on the clearing, as Sophie had hired everything, from tables to chairs to caterers to flowers and decor. She showed me where she wanted me to place my uplighters, and she wanted them to be aquamarine in colour, which was my favourite colour as well. I was surprised that she made no alternative plans in case it should rain, but she told me that she knew it wouldn't rain, and that impressed me tremendously because she had more of a positive attitude than most of my clients do about possibility of rain. Fast forward to the party, which was a huge success, and as Sophie had predicted, there was no rain. The decor was all aquamarine, and there were blue and white balloons everywhere. The guests literally danced until 3 a.m, until finally everyone had left. The food had been wonderful and extremely delicious. There had been a massive barbecue with burgers, chicken wings, hot dogs and steaks, followed by a lovely selections of puddings, including a large ice cream, blue dolphin birthday cake, which everybody tucked into and enjoyed. There had also been a mobile bar offering all manner of alcoholic beverages, and by the looks of things, Sophie had spared no expense. And there were some people vomiting in the bushes because they had overdone it with the alcohol. But on the whole, it had been a flawless, seamless occasion. As is often the case, everyone had left before I did. And I drove my van to the clearing in order to retrieve all my equipment because it is very expensive and I cannot afford to lose it or leave it lying around or have it stolen. So I packed my van, rolled up my extension leads, piled my equipment into the van and slammed the doors behind it, feeling satisfied that everything was finally packed away. I was feeling utterly famished, which is a natural phenomenon for DJs after a party, which is why so many night workers are overweight. Luckily, I'm not one of them. There are lots of cold cuts and salads lying around, so I crossed my legs and sat on a grassy verge, eating some leftover food hungrily. It was such a beautiful starry night, with a bright full moon which made it really quite light. It was about 4:15 in the morning when I suddenly heard a low moaning sound coming from the woods, and I immediately realised that someone was in trouble. I thought that maybe a guest at the party had wandered into the wood on their own and had probably fallen over a log or something, and maybe they had sprained or even broken an ankle. Worse still, a drunk guest could have ended up passing out in the woods after wandering around in a drunken stupor, and maybe they had fallen and now needed some serious help. I threw down my plate of food, retrieved my flashlight from the van, and rushed hastily into the woods without even considering my own safety for a moment. I just wanted to help this poor person who was stuck in the woods, because I know I would want somebody to help me in the same situation. It must be awful for them being in the middle of the woods, all on their own. They should be terrified, I imagined. My flashlight caught a glimpse of the figure that appeared to be seated on the ground, hunched over and moaning in pain. "Are you all right?" I asked, bending down towards the person with my flashlight, lighting up the whole area. I then took several startled steps backwards as I eyed the large figure sitting on the ground with their legs wide open. This was not a human, I thought in horror, but what on earth was it? The face looked up at me with desperate agony in their eyes, as if they were in physical pain. I studied the creature closely, who was clutching her stomach, which was extremely extended and shaped like she was very pregnant. I suddenly realized that this creature was in the process of giving birth, and clearly this was not an easy one. I did not know what to do, because even sitting on the ground, the creature was enormous and exceedingly intimidating. She was covered in fine dark hair, which I could not see clearly, but I did notice the large padded grey feet and the very long arms that were much bigger than human arms are. Also, her torso was exceedingly big, about 3 feet in width and dense with muscle. The face was cone-shaped and the nose was flat, but it was those pleading eyes that got my attention. I really got the impression the creature wanted me to stay, because when I tried to turn away, she made a desperate chattering sound and even indicated with her arms that she did not want me to go. She even patted the ground with her hands, as if to say, "Please come and sit over here." I could hardly believe it. I had 2 thoughts rushing through my mind. One was to run away as fast as I could, and another more compassionate thought that overcame my first very sensible one, and this was the nagging desire to help this creature and overcome my fear of her, because her large presence was very intimidating. However, in her pre-birth state, she was in no condition to launch a predatory attack on me, and it was that revelation that convinced me to stay and help the strange ape-like humanoid. In my experience, most animals give birth much more easily than humans, but this creature was experiencing very real pain and was clearly having a difficult birth. However, despite her moans, they were not the high-pitched screams human women often have during natural childbirth. This creature was a lot quieter. She would keep touching her crotch area and bending down to examine it closely. I think she was looking for the first sign of the baby's head. I could see the creature was restless as she kept shifting positions all the time while she moaned. I bent down on my knees, keeping a small distance between myself and the creature, and I tried to encourage her. "You can do it. Yes, you can do it. I know you can do it. Yes, just push. Yes, push. Yes, push. Just push. Just push. Yes, good girl. Good girl. You can do it. You can do it. Yes, you can do it. Get another push. Just another push." I kept talking to her softly like that, and she looked up at me with a look of such tenderness and appreciation that in that moment my fear completely dissipated, and I knew at once that she would never, ever hurt me. I really knew that she was thankful that I was there. I do not know how I knew this, because I am not naturally intuitive by nature, but on this occasion I truly felt her thankfulness, and it was tangible and also expressed in her eyes. Suddenly this head came rushing out of her crotch area, and the creature gathered this damp, grey, almost hairless form into her large arms and started to lick the baby with her tongue and seemingly kiss it almost like a human would. The creature whimpered in pleasure and delight, and she looked utterly enchanted and thrilled. Her eyes were filled with joy, and she had the happiest expression I have ever seen in my life on her face. I do believe she was smiling. I immediately started to clap and to congratulate her with my words. Why I did this I do not know, but she seemed to know what I was saying. She lifted up the grey little form in the air so that it faced me, and I think she was showing off her baby to me proudly. "Look what I delivered," she was saying. I noticed the creature's eyes were large for the face, and it was moving them, and it seemed much more aware than a human baby would be directly after birth. It seemed much more engaged. It had not even cried once after delivery, but it was very much alive and was wiggling its little arms and feet. The creature placed the baby on one of her hairy, full breasts, and the baby started to suckle almost immediately, making a smacking sound with its lips. It was the cutest thing I have ever seen in my entire life, and I'm a man, and so that's saying something. I was awestruck by the experience, and I could see the maternal instincts of this mother in overdrive. The creature was a very gentle and naturally caring mother, and she herself, as an individual, was incredibly likable. I really warmed to her personality like I would to any human being that made a positive impression on me. like she did. I remember thinking the creature must be hungry after her delivery, and because she was so human, I decided to go and get her some leftover food from the party, which I placed on a tablecloth on her side. I watched her instinctively grab a bunch of sweet grapes, which she ate happily, sucking out the juices from the skins eagerly. I then nodded and raised my hand, indicating to her that I was going to leave. And then it was the creature's turn to clap. She clapped as though she understood. And then I left the scene and drove back to my home, humming happily to myself, because this truly had been one of the most magical, memorable moments of my entire life, and I didn't believe I would ever share it with anyone. Watching this creature give birth was utterly extraordinary and empowering. I felt privileged at the fact that she had wanted me to be there, even though I was a human. And for me, that was such a privilege and was so incredible. How many people would have dreamed to have been in my position of such privilege? When I got home, I wasted no time in doing research and discovered that I'd encountered a real live Bigfoot, which is a creature that is naturally elusive and keeps its distance from humans, preferring not to be seen by them. I began to realize that I had indeed been privileged to have a one-on-one encounter with this Bigfoot, who had invited me into her world ever so briefly. I understood very quickly that no one was likely to believe my outrageous story that would seem very improbable for most cynical people. On a softer note, I would like to say that I truly understand where they're coming from. I also learned how people were ridiculed and patronized for claiming to believe in Bigfoot, and it was not long ago that I would have joined forces with those unbelievers until, of course, my reality was shattered by the revelation that this creature is indeed as real as you and I. So there you are, that is my story. My wife is the only person in the whole wide world that knows my secret, but now you do too. But she encouraged me to unleash my account to your anonymous forum, because she said there are people out there who would just love to hear my story and would not be dismissive of it, nor would they be a disbeliever. So that is why I'm sharing my story tonight. I just want to say, and I know my listeners as well are going to be blown away by this story. I am so jealous of you. I cannot imagine what a privilege it was to see a Bigfoot giving birth. That is one hell of a story. And if you don't subscribe after this story, I'm going to be shocked. I'm only joking. But anyway, love to all of you. Until next time, goodbye and good night.